Watch your nieces or start paying full rent. You get a discount. Market price is $1,700. My mother stood in the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed, her voice sharp and controlled. My father stood beside her, wearing that firm expression he used whenever he expected immediate obedience. Behind them, my sister Chloe leaned against the counter with a satisfied smile, bouncing her youngest daughter on her hip as if everything was perfectly normal. I stood there, frozen, my backpack still hanging from one shoulder, textbooks heavy against my back. I had just come home from my shift at the campus bookstore. I was exhausted and hungry, and this was how I was welcomed. My name is Ellie. I'm 23 years old, and I live in Kansas City, Missouri. Or at least I lived in my parents' house there. Until that moment when everything became clear. I had been balancing college classes and a part-time job while gradually becoming the default babysitter for my sister's two daughters without ever agreeing to it. It started with small requests. Can you watch them for an hour? Can you pick them up from daycare? Can you help with bedtime? Over time, those favors turned into full days, overnight stays, and entire weekends where I was fully responsible for two children under 5, and my sister contributed almost nothing. Chloe was 28, married to Gregory, who worked in sales and traveled often. She told everyone she was a stay-at-home mom. In reality, she spent her days scrolling through social media, getting her nails done, and meeting friends for brunch while I handled most of the childcare. My parents constantly praised her. Poor Chloe, she's so overwhelmed. Poor Chloe, she's trying her best. Poor Chloe, raising two kids practically alone. Meanwhile, I was invisible. I paid rent, not the full market rate my mother had just mentioned, but $800 a month for a small bedroom with a squeaky bed and a cramped closet. I bought my own groceries, did my own laundry, and stayed out of everyone's way. I believed that was enough. I believed I was doing my part. Apparently, I was mistaken. "Are you listening to me?" my mother snapped, pulling me back to the present. I blinked. "I heard you." "Good, then you understand. Either you help Chloe with the girls or you pay what anyone else would pay to live here. It's only fair." Fair? The word felt bitter. "I already pay rent," I said quietly, trying to stay calm. "I've been paying rent for 2 years." "Discounted rent," my father cut in. "You're getting a deal, Ellie. Anywhere else in this neighborhood, you'd pay at least $1,700 for a room like this." That wasn't accurate. I had checked listings before, but arguing seemed pointless. Chloe shifted her daughter inside. "Honestly, Ellie, I don't see why this is such a problem. You're young. You have energy. I'm exhausted all the time. I really need help. We're family. Families support each other." I studied her face, searching for any awareness. There was none. She truly believed she was the one struggling most. "I have classes," I said, "and work. I can't just drop everything to babysit." "Then quit your job," my mother replied, as if it were obvious. "You don't need one. You live at home. We're supporting you." Supporting me. The words echoed in my mind. They weren't supporting me. They were limiting me. I wanted to argue. I wanted to drop my backpack and explain exactly how unfair this arrangement was. Instead, I swallowed my frustration and kept my expression neutral. "I'll think about it," I said. "There's nothing to think about, Ellie," my mother responded. "Decide by the end of the week. Help Chloe with the girls or pay full rent. Those are your options." I nodded and walked upstairs to my room. My hand shook as I closed the door. I dropped my backpack and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall. This wasn't new. My parents had prioritized Chloe my entire life. She was the golden child. I was expected to adjust quietly. But this felt different. This felt final. Sitting there in the dim light of my small room, a thought formed in my mind. What if I just left? The idea stayed with me that evening and into the next day. What if I just left? At first, it seemed unrealistic, but the more I considered it, the more it felt like the only real solution. That night, I lay awake replaying everything that led to this moment. It wasn't just the ultimatum. It was years of being overlooked and undervalued. Growing up, Chloe had always been favored. She was outgoing, charming, and naturally social. I was quieter and preferred books over parties. When Chloe graduated from high school, my parents threw a large celebration and gave her a car. When I graduated, we went to dinner at a chain restaurant, and I was told to be grateful. When she married at 24, they paid for an expensive wedding. When I mentioned studying abroad, they said it was too costly and not worth it. Now she had 2 children, and my parents treated her like a hero simply for being a mother. Never mind that I was the one caring for those children half the time. Over the past year, I had rearranged my life around Chloe's needs. I missed study sessions, skipped social events, and declined extra shifts at work because I was expected to be available. And in return, nothing. Not even a thank you. I remembered one evening clearly. I had an important exam the next morning. I was studying when Chloe knocked. "Can you watch the girls tonight? Gregory and I have dinner reservations." I told her I had an exam. "You'll be fine. You're smart. You'll pass. I never get to go out." I wanted to refuse. Instead, I agreed. I barely slept. I took the exam exhausted and earned a lower grade than I wanted. Chloe never asked how it went. That was the pattern. She took, I adjusted. No one questioned it. The next morning, I went for a walk to think clearly. I passed rows of identical houses with neat lawns and 2-car garages. This was the stability my parents valued. It wasn't what I wanted. I sat on a bench at a small park and watched children play. I loved my nieces. They were kind and innocent. But loving them didn't mean sacrificing my future. I pulled out my phone and searched for apartments. This time, I was serious. Most options were beyond my budget, but a few were possible. Small studios, shared spaces, unfamiliar neighborhoods. One listing stood out. A tiny studio near campus, affordable if I increased my work hours. The photos showed a small but clean space with a kitchenette and bathroom. It wasn't impressive, but it was available immediately. When I returned home, the house was loud. My nieces ran through the living room. Chloe sat on the couch on her phone. "Ellie," she called, "can you make them lunch? I'm exhausted." Something shifted inside me. Not outwardly. I stayed calm. "Sure," I said. I made sandwiches and sat with the girls while they ate. They chatted about cartoons. I smiled, but my mind was elsewhere. That night, after everyone was asleep, I filled out the apartment application. I attached proof of income and references. I hesitated before submitting. Then I pressed send. 3 days later, I received an email. The landlord wanted to meet. I scheduled a viewing, telling my parents I had a study group. The studio was smaller in person, but clean and quiet. The landlord, Dorothy, was kind. "I can move in next week," I said. I signed the lease that evening. The following week felt surreal. On the surface, nothing changed. I went to class, worked, and occasionally watched the girls. But privately, I prepared. I packed at night, folding clothes into boxes hidden under my bed. I sorted through belongings and withdrew savings carefully. I arranged a moving company for a time when my family would be out. It felt like reclaiming control. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal, listening to Chloe complain, hearing lectures about responsibility. One more week. On Thursday, my parents asked again. "We need your decision," my mother said. "Help Chloe with the girls or pay full rent." "I need more time," I replied. "You've had enough time," my father said. "I'll let you know by Sunday." Sunday. I was moving out Saturday. On Friday, I confirmed the movers. Saturday morning, after my parents left for errands and Chloe took the girls out, the movers arrived. Within an hour, everything I owned was loaded. I stood in my empty room. It had never truly felt like mine. I locked the door, left my key on the counter, and walked out. By noon, I was in my new studio. The space was small and plain, a hot plate, a mini fridge, scuffed floors, but it was mine. I unpacked slowly, arranging books and clothes, setting up my bed in the corner. As the sun set over Kansas City, I felt something unfamiliar. Relief. A notification appeared on my phone. "Hey, can you watch the girls tomorrow? I have plans." I deleted the message. Another message. "Ellie, seriously." Then calls. I let them ring. Finally, a text from my mother appeared. And for the first time, I understood something clearly. Their crisis was no longer my responsibility.
"Ellie, why aren't you answering your sister? She needs you." I placed the phone down and continued unpacking.
By late afternoon, the messages intensified. My mother called 3 times. My father sent a short text asking where I was. Chloe sent a series of increasingly frantic messages, shifting between pleading and anger. Ellie, please, I don't know what to do. Where are you? This isn't funny. Call me back. I can't believe you're being this selfish. I read each message with an unexpected sense of distance. Part of me felt guilty. They were still my family. But another part of me, the part that had been overlooked and relied on for so long, felt justified. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. I turned off my phone and went for a walk. The neighborhood around my new apartment was unfamiliar but pleasant. There were small shops, cafes, and tree-lined streets with people going about their day. I stopped at a coffee shop, ordered a latte, and sat by the window watching the world move around me. For the first time in months, I felt calm. When I returned to my apartment, I turned my phone back on, the screen filled with notifications, dozens of missed calls, and countless texts. I scrolled through them, my stomach tightening. Most were from Chloe. Her tone had shifted from angry to desperate. Ellie, please, I'm begging you. I can't do this alone. The girls are crying for you. Mom and Dad are furious. You need to come home. The final message caught my attention. It was from my father, short and direct. If you don't come back by tonight, don't bother coming back at all. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking slightly. This was the final ultimatum, the moment I had to choose between returning to the old pattern or moving forward. I chose myself. I typed one message in the family group chat. I moved out. I won't be coming back. Then I turned off my phone again and set it aside. The rest of the evening passed in a haze. I tried watching a movie on my laptop, but I couldn't focus. My thoughts kept drifting back to the house I had left behind. Were they angry, worried, or simply frustrated? More than anything, I wondered if I had made the right decision. As night settled in, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The apartment felt unusually quiet. I was alone in a way I had never experienced before. But I wasn't lonely. For the first time in years, I felt independent. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No alarms, no crying children, no demands, just quiet. I stretched, got out of bed, and made breakfast. Sitting by the window with my coffee, watching the city come to life, I realized something important. I didn't miss the pressure. I didn't miss the constant expectations. I didn't miss feeling invisible. I missed my nieces, their laughter and hugs, but I didn't miss how they had been used to control me. I turned my phone on again, preparing for another flood of messages. Instead, there were only 3. From Chloe, "You're unbelievable. I hope you're happy." From my mother, "How could you do this to us?" From my father, "Don't expect any help from us ever again." I read them once and deleted them without replying. They still believed this was about them. It wasn't. This was about choosing my own future over their demands. I finished my coffee, grabbed my bag, and left for work. I had a shift at the bookstore followed by class. My life was moving forward, and I refused to keep looking back. The days after my move were a mix of relief and unease. I focused on work and school, trying to quiet the guilt that occasionally surfaced. Still, I sensed that something unresolved lingered. My phone remained mostly silent. Chloe sent a few more resentful messages, but they became less frequent. My parents did not contact me at all. It was as if I had been removed from their lives. And honestly, I told myself I was fine with that. On Wednesday evening, while walking home from campus, I ran into an old high school friend named Brooke. We had once been close before life took us in different directions. She was standing outside a coffee shop and looked up as I passed. "Ellie, oh my God, it's been forever." I smiled. "Brooke, it's good to see you." We hugged and she insisted on buying me coffee. We sat by the window and caught up. She talked about her job at a marketing firm, a recent breakup, and her plans to travel to Europe next summer. I shared updates about school, work, and my recent move. "Wait, you moved out?" she asked, surprised. "Why didn't you tell me?" I hesitated. "It's complicated. My family and I had some issues." She leaned forward. "What happened?" I gave her a shortened version, leaving out the most painful details. She listened carefully.
"That sounds really difficult," she said when I finished. "But honestly, good for you. It takes courage to walk away from something like that." Her words meant more than I expected. For the first time since leaving, I felt understood. We talked for over an hour. When we said goodbye, I felt lighter. It reminded me that support doesn't always come from family. However, that relief didn't last long. The next day at work, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I ignored it at first, assuming it was spam, but it rang repeatedly. I stepped outside and answered. "Hello?" "Ellie." The voice sounded tense and rushed. It took me a second to recognize it. "Gregory, Chloe's husband." "Gregory? What's going on?" "I need to talk to you. It's about Chloe." My stomach tightened. "What about her?" He exhaled heavily. "She's not handling things well. Ever since you left, she's been overwhelmed. The girls are acting out and she can't manage them. She's been calling me constantly, crying and asking me to come home early from work trips. I don't know what to do." A flicker of guilt surfaced, but I steadied myself. "Gregory, that is not my responsibility." "I know," he replied quickly. "I'm not asking you to come back. I just thought you should know. She's been telling people you abandoned the family. Your parents are supporting her version." I wasn't surprised. Of course they are. "I don't agree with how they treated you," Gregory continued. "I told Chloe she was being unfair, but she won't listen. She believes you owe her." "I don't owe her anything," I said firmly. "I spent a year doing everything for her. She never even acknowledged it." "You're right," he admitted, "and I'm sorry. I should have stepped in sooner. I should have suggested hiring help instead of letting everything fall on you." His apology caught me off guard. "Why didn't you?" He paused. "I was focused on work, and honestly, Chloe made it seem like you were fine with it." I gave a small, humorless laugh. She was mistaken. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I see that now." We spoke for a few more minutes before ending the call. His words stayed with me. Chloe was criticizing me publicly. My parents were reinforcing her story. They had framed me as the selfish daughter who walked away during a crisis. But I understood the pattern. Shifting blame was easier than acknowledging their role in the situation. I refused to internalize it. I had made a deliberate decision, and I was not going to regret it.
That evening, I was in my apartment studying for an exam when someone knocked on the door. I paused immediately, my heart beating faster. No one had my address. I hadn't shared it with anyone. I walked quietly to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Chloe. She stood in the hallway with her arms crossed, her expression tense. My mother was behind her. My first instinct was to stay silent and pretend I wasn't home. Before I could decide, Chloe knocked again, louder. "Ellie, I know you're in there. Open the door." I took a steady breath and opened it. "What are you doing here?" I asked calmly. Chloe stared at me. "What am I doing here? What are you doing here? You left without warning. Do you know what you've put us through?" "I sent a message," I replied. "I told you I moved out." "A message?" My mother stepped forward. "You think that counts as an explanation? You owe us more than that." "I don't owe you anything," I said firmly. "I paid rent, I did everything you asked, and you still treated me like I didn't matter." "We gave you a home," my mother snapped. "We supported you." "You used me," I responded. "You made me your live-in babysitter and threatened to raise my rent when I couldn't continue. That's not support, that's pressure." Chloe's expression hardened. "You're selfish. You have no idea how hard it is to be a mother." "And you have no idea how hard it was to be me," I said. "I was finishing school, working, and raising your children. They're your kids, Chloe, not mine." "They're your nieces," she said, her voice shaking. "They love you, and you just left them." Her words affected me. I did love my nieces, but I couldn't give up my entire future. "I'm sorry," I said more quietly, "but I had to leave. I couldn't continue like that." My mother shook her head. "You're making a mistake. You'll regret this." "Maybe," I answered, "but it's my decision to make." Chloe started to respond, but I stepped back and closed the door. I leaned against it, listening as their footsteps faded. They left. I remained. That confrontation unsettled me, but it also confirmed something important. Seeing them show up unannounced, demanding explanations and trying to guilt me into returning, reinforced what I already understood. They were focused on what I provided, not on me as a person. Over the next few days, I felt alert to every sound. Each time my phone buzzed, I expected another confrontation. Every time I heard movement in the hallway, I wondered if they had returned. They didn't. Instead, messages began arriving from extended family members, relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. They had heard a version of the story, reshaped and incomplete, and they had opinions. "Your mother is heartbroken. Family is everything. You should apologize and come home." I deleted each message without replying. They didn't know the full situation, and I wasn't going to defend myself to people who had already decided I was wrong. One message stood out. It was from my Aunt Joyce, my mother's older sister. She had always lived independently, building her own life away from family expectations. We weren't especially close, but I respected her. Her message was brief. "I heard what happened. Ignore the noise. You did the right thing. Call me if you need anything." I read it several times, feeling genuine relief. It was the first acknowledgement from family that I might not be the problem. I saved her number. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding my routine. I picked up extra shifts at the bookstore and stayed disciplined with my coursework. Gradually, I felt more like myself. 2 weeks after moving out, I noticed something that shifted everything. I was scrolling through social media when I saw a post from Chloe. It was a photo of her and the girls smiling at a park. The caption read, "Just us girls today. Sometimes you have to do everything yourself. Mom life. Strong mom." I continued reading the comments. One friend wrote, "Where's Ellie? Doesn't she usually help?" Chloe replied, "She moved out without warning, left us completely, but we're managing." Another comment followed, "That's terrible. Family should stick together." I didn't respond. There was no point defending myself online. But as I kept scrolling, I saw something unexpected, a post from Jessica, a mutual friend. She had shared a screenshot of a conversation with Chloe months earlier. In it, Chloe joked about canceling daycare because I would never dare move out. "Ellie's too scared to leave. She'll do whatever we say. It's perfect." I stared at the screenshot. This wasn't accidental dependence. It was deliberate. I saved the image. Then I searched through old messages. There were dozens. Last-minute babysitting requests, canceled plans, complaints about her exhaustion when I was in the middle of finals. I compiled everything into a folder. For the first time, I had evidence. Then I hesitated. Did I really want to expose this publicly? Was it worth escalating? Part of me wanted to move forward quietly. Another part wanted clarity. I opened a document and began writing. I described the years of imbalance, the unpaid childcare, the ultimatum, and the manipulation. I referenced the screenshot and included timelines. I stayed factual. I avoided emotional language. When I finished, I saved the document. I wasn't ready to publish it, but I would be. The next morning, Gregory texted. "Chloe hired a nanny. She's stressed about the cost, but the girls are taken care of." I replied, "Thanks for letting me know." He responded, "For what it's worth, I think you made the right decision. Chloe needed a reality check." I didn't answer, but I noted it. The following week, I focused on school and work. For the first time in over a year, I studied without interruption. I slept without being on call. I felt stable. Still, I sensed this wasn't finished. Soon after, Chloe posted again. This time, she described herself as a single mom handling everything alone. Sympathy poured in. I closed the app. Later that day, Jessica messaged me privately, expressing support. She admitted she hadn't realized how serious things were until she saw the old messages. Her validation mattered. That weekend, I met Brooke for lunch and told her everything. "You need to set the record straight. You have proof." She was right.
That evening, I reviewed my document and drafted a clear, measured post. I presented facts, included screenshots, and explained my decision without attacking anyone. The next morning, I published it. The response was immediate. Many expressed support. Some criticized me for sharing private matters. I ignored the negativity. Later that day, Chloe called. "How dare you post that?" she demanded. "I told the truth," I said calmly. "You embarrassed me. Everyone is questioning me, even Gregory." "Maybe now you understand what that feels like," I replied. "You're ruining my life." "No, Chloe, I'm protecting mine." She ended the call. Over the next few days, more people reached out with support. Some shared similar experiences. Aunt Joyce called that evening. "I'm proud of you. Your mother and I had similar issues years ago. She's always focused on appearances." Her honesty brought clarity. Gregory later asked to meet. He apologized directly, admitting he avoided conflict and allowed the situation to continue. "It was easier not to confront it," he said. "That doesn't make it right," I answered. "I know, and I'm sorry." It wasn't complete closure, but it was acknowledgement. Life gradually settled. My grades improved, my stress decreased. I felt steady. My mother and parents' contact stopped. Chloe's posts about me ended. Eventually, she sent one final message. "I hope you're happy. We're struggling." I deleted it without replying. This had never been about hurting her. It was about protecting myself. Over time, the reality of paid childcare affected Chloe's finances. She cycled through multiple nannies before settling on one at a higher cost. Her lifestyle adjusted accordingly. My parents became more involved in helping her. Their image of a perfect family quietly shifted. As for me, I finished my degree with honors. I secured a full-time job and later moved into a better apartment. A year later, I had built a life defined by independence, stability, and mutual respect. I still thought about my nieces. I missed them. But loving them did not require sacrificing my entire future. Walking away was the hardest decision I had made. It was also the most necessary. I spent years bending to expectations that erased me. Choosing myself allowed me to rebuild my identity. And that freedom was worth more than any guilt placed on me.